Hey everyone, it's time for part number 4. On the table I have the base with the crawler tracks that we put on in part 3. And now I have all these parts laid out, and there's quite a few. For most of the build, this assembly is going to be off camera, and we're going to be building a large portion of an upper frame that will sit on top of here. This one might be a little bit long, so let's just get right into building. So we start off with this ring assembly, which I've seen smaller versions of this. These two parts just snap together. Nice clicking sound. And this gives a nice 360-degree range of motion here. Oh, the complexity's starting to go up. I have to be careful. Flip that over. Okay, so that sits right there, and then these pins go through. Got a bunch of interlocking gears. They fit together quite loosely. How is this going to go? Turn this back around. Uh-oh. Oh, come on. What? I'm a little befuddled. So this is supposed to go through here, and this beige pin is supposed to go into something, a receiving hole right here, but there's nothing there. And this looks like it's in the wrong spot too. Oh boy. This looks like it should be on top. Okay. I think I figured it out. I put this assembly here in the wrong spot. So that shouldn't be there. I should have flipped this over, and this should have been right here. Now that frees up that hole for this assembly to go in. Boy, I'm glad that was an easy fix, but again, I just got to pay attention. It's going to get more complicated than this. This gets put in like that. And then these pins should go underneath, through here, and up. Right. We definitely have a lot of moving pieces in here that aren't connected to anything yet, but we'll get there. It's getting hard to hold this properly to put all this stuff in. Where does this go? Really? Does that go right here? Okay, now this is tricky. This has to go on top. That has to be 45 degrees. That goes over top of that pin. I tied that all together. Interesting set of gears here. This is crazy, man. I don't know what's going on. Okay, quick break just to showcase this. Maybe we'll start on the bottom. We have this rotating assembly which doesn't currently connect to anything, but I think it will at some point. We have a couple wheels we put in here. I didn't know what these would be doing because they're at 45 degrees, but I think I know now. Eventually, these will probably get connected into the ring structure that we have on the original assembly. I think these will just run in the grooves here, like that. And so when this is going to rotate in the main ring, these will guide it through the track in here. That's a guess right now, but an educated guess. We have a gear assembly here, which is not tied to that wheel, so I'm not sure. That wheel is probably just another guide wheel in the ring. Same thing with that one here. Oh, this one's tied to a spiral gear. Like eventually everything's going to be all hooked together. So this is by far the most complicated gear assembly I've ever constructed. Now you look on this side, you can see all the gears. If I turn some of these elements, you can see the gears turn. Those are connected to some gears down below. This is the biggest turning gear assembly. You see all of them turning away. And then there's a gear assembly buried in there that this one turns. So we got these cylinders here, which I thought were pneumatic, but I guess they're not. They're connected to this central hub, and if I rotate it, these are now rotating in opposite directions to each other, which I don't know if this is correct or not. This gets put onto here, because it should just snap in right there. Moment of truth. How does this all sit down on here? Well, I'm guessing that gear has to go through this hole. There we go. Oh. Okay, so this, we've got the sit down. We have these red pins. These red pins in here. Oh, look, the whole thing's rotating. Got these red pins in here that I can push in and lock that in place. There should be red pins on the underside as well. So if I flip this up, I think it'd be hard to see. There should be red pins. Oh, right in there. Get my fingers in there. Thankfully those pins went in really nicely. Flip it back around. Now look at this. I was right. These wheels run in the tracks. Actually not in the tracks, they just run on top. But now, I'm going to lift these up. When this rotates, these gears all turn. And I'm not sure what is causing that to turn. But who cares? It's working. Okay, so it sits in there like that. It doesn't turn. Ouch. And lock that all together. All right, so this connects into this universal joint here, and then the whole thing connects to here. Oh. I see. So this is like it's actually like a transmission. If this switch gets moved, it locks this gear, and this way it doesn't. So right now this whole thing can turn. If I move that to the middle, it's neutral. So we'll get this into the main assembly and I'll explain about the locking part. I'll get this out of the way. So big. So I was concerned when I built this assembly here that this gear here doesn't turn. I'm like, oh, that's worrisome, it doesn't turn. But now I understand. So this thing will sit. Oh, this could be tricky. Get it aligned with that hole. There we go. Now this one doesn't want to go in. Okay. Okay. Good. Everything is attached. So now this turning assembly is attached to this drive shaft with the universal joints. And if I flick this to the locked position, it attaches to that gear that didn't move. And now this can't rotate past that point. Neutral, it can do whatever it wants. Still got a little bit more to go here. Ooh, nice and solid now. This, where's this going to tie in? It should tie in right here. Okay, I know it's a little bit off camera, but there's nothing too exciting to see up top. The one thing that has me really nervous, upset, confused, there's always some extra pieces in a set, and they're usually like, some extra pins or some extra little connecting pieces. Not a big deal. I have one of these left over. This is a huge piece. I'm a little concerned as to, is this truly an extra piece? Or did I, in all of this, forget to put this somewhere? I'm going to go back through the instruction manual and try to figure this out. Before that, I will showcase everything here. So here's the final build for part 4, or bag number 4. All the gear mechanisms are now buried in there. That's kind of a good view of everything. This upper assembly can all rotate. The gears in there will rotate too. So this is actually, well, it can still move, but it's a little bit harder to move now. And I think it's because it's tied into, which gear is it? It's one of these gears. So this Technic pin here will rotate the upper assembly that we just added. This one in the middle here rotates something right on top here, which isn't connected to anything yet, but will be connected to this. There's a drive shaft that we added here in the back. That's connected to that ring, and then this connects to the gear in the middle. Then this one over here, really hard to turn actually. This one is connected to the tank treads. Now if I were to really push this, yeah, if I give it a bit of pressure, I get it to move and I can get that gear to turn. We've got these cylinders here at the front, which will eventually connect to, I believe, actually the bucket. Probably the bucket part or something leading to the bucket. So this part of the build was more complicated than I was expecting. I knew there was a lot of gears that had to go in here, but I wasn't prepared for the amount of attention I had to spend getting everything into the right spot. But I'm happy that it looks okay. The only thing, again, is trying to figure out where this goes. I mean, nothing appears to be not working because this part's not in there. I'll spend a little bit of time now and see if I can figure out where that is. Okay, I found where this goes, and thank goodness it's in a place that's easily accessible. So way back in the instruction manual for this build, it's hard to explain. There's the upper part and the lower part. So doing the lower part, let's see if I can poke my finger in here. There's some Technic pins in here. Hard to see. Right in here. This was supposed to go over top. Now, thankfully, those are all still exposed and I could just reach in and pop this in. So I completely missed it in the instruction manual because I was focused on a part that went in another location out on the front, and I didn't notice that this one was ever so subtly put in over here. Now this is where my beef with the instructions. Yes, they labeled the part with a little number 13 saying that it's 13 studs, but if they highlighted it with like a white outline or something, that would be a lot easier to spot it. I'm going to stand up for this a little bit. So this has to go from this blue pin to this black pin over here. It should just pop over top of everything. There we go. Now that part is where it should be, right there. Because who knows, might be connecting into that later on. This took me 3 hours to build all of this. Now I made some mistakes along the way and I took a few breaks here and there, but from start to finish about 3 hours. So if I had to go back and separate some stuff out to add a part that I missed, that would be probably another an hour and a half worth of work. I'm just not prepared to do that today. So happy it's all done. It looks great. Parts bag number 5 will be one of the conveyor sections that go on here. It should be a lot less complicated than this. So that'll be a nice break for next week. Again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue with parts bag number 5 next week.